everybody, I'm Scott EJ. Welcome back to Rock Titan Live. We've got a phenomenal show for you today. We've got a guitarist, but he's not just any guitarist. He's known as the fastest guitarist on the planet Earth. He's been revered by, some of the, biggest musicians, in rock and roll and heavy metal today. This guy created the double guitar and the quad guitar. And I can't wait to ask him how exactly that's possible. But ladies and gentlemen, he has a brand new album coming out June 12th via Rat Pak Records, More Machine Than Man. And I think this guy might actually be more machine than man. Everybody, Michael Angelo Batio. What is going on, sir?
And in a good mood. Like you said, we have the new record coming out, and we just released a video today of the title track. Chris Adler from Lamb of God and Megadeth, formerly of, played drums on it, and the arrangement was done by Josh Wilbur, who won the Grammy for Megadeth's last album, and he produced Trivium. So we have a Grammy award-winning producer that arranged it, recorded Chris drums, and I'm really proud of the record. Came out good.
Now this is your 12th studio album. It's awesome that it's 12th studio album being released on the 12th.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. Now, I've listened to it. It's incredible. So for everybody out there, if you love Michelangelo's work, you're going to absolutely just lose it when you hear this, because it's awesome. But I would be remiss if I didn't bring up, Michael, that, since you came out with your very first solo album, No Boundaries, you were like really quick in succession, like every single year, you were cranking out a new solo album. And it's been a little while since you've actually released your last studio album. Are you slowing down with age?
No, because not at all. But here's the thing it's actually, there's been 2 albums released since what everybody thinks was my last album. So my first album on Rat Pak was Greatest Hits. It was called Shred Force 1. That was after Intermezzo. And then I released another one just a couple of years ago called, it was a band with a girl singer from Italy that almost won The Voice. Her name is Gianna Kila, and she is like a young Janis Joplin with Mariah Carey range. She was amazing. And so it's actually technically my 14, but everybody's saying 12, but I like it, 12.
Okay, all right. Well, my ignorance, I apologize, Mr. Batio. I should have known better. I take my research very seriously. But
I don't see, you were actually correct, because the press release said that, and I asked the label why they said 12, and they said, well, the one was the Greatest Hits, and then the other one was more for Europe than the United States. So, but it was all my original music, but I'm always working on things. So it's actually only a couple of years. So It's not so long, but you're right. It's not as prolific as the past.
Yeah, no, but I'm just teasing, because of course you are known as the fastest guitarist alive. But see, here's the thing, because I know that, you're not just a musician. You are very much a student of music. You always have been. And I know you take that with a lot of pride. And of course you have your own, tutorial training sessions that you do on video, Speed Kills. Everybody got to see that. People refer to you, almost in terms of just being exclusively a shredder.
Yes.
How do you feel being recognized in that way? Like, do you take that kind of as a badge of honor, or would you prefer to just be known as just a great guitarist and not necessarily in one particular style, if you will?
Well, I'm going to answer that with music history. And I've said this many times, but, I have a degree in music theory and composition. Now, it doesn't mean I know everything, but my expertise is music. And here is one thing that people don't understand. Like my dad used to have a great saying. He said, son, don't reinvent the wheel. So if you don't know what happened before you, you have to relearn everything of the past. I don't, not especially in music. And it's really helped me to stay relevant for all these years. So here's how I'm going to answer this. If this was the year 1820 or 1870, critics called people like Franz Liszt a virtuoso. Now, we would think today a virtuoso is amazing. So, awesome. It was actually a cut down. And see what if I called a great musician a virtuoso in the 1800s, the 19th century, that would be an insult, because the technical definition is that you're just extremely technically proficient on the instrument. See, so since time began, there are always critics who have not to try to criticize the ones who have. And so what I said is this, because I know Steve Vai he doesn't want to be called a shredder. Nobody wanted to be called a shredder. And I thought to myself, you know what? They called Franz Liszt a virtuoso, which is the derogatory term associated in the 21st century, like people would say, a shredder. And you know what? I wear the badge of honor proudly, because it means that I'm in a class of musicians. They can say what they want. I mean, my song, No Boundaries, it's really slow in the beginning and really beautiful. All you do is play fast. So, hey, if you want to call me a shredder, call me a shredder. But I've shredded it for 30 years, and I got a brand new record coming out. So I would put a badge of honor. Why not? Because I'm in an elite company of people throughout the centuries that have been criticized for their technical proficiency. And that's the way it is. They don't want to see the real musician. They just, shredder. It's fine. I don't care. Call me whatever.
So would you consider yourself a virtuoso then?
Well, in today's terms, yes. In the classical sense, meaning in the 100+ years ago, if that's what I was labeled, so what? There's a lot of great people throughout history that critics have. The Beatles, they thought Led Zeppelin couldn't write, so I'm in good company. If you want to criticize it, but I think my fans know this. One of the things that I pride myself on is that all my records sound different, more machine than man. Stylistically, the way I put phrases together is very different from No Boundaries. A lot of artists can't do that. A lot of artists, and it's not to be arrogant, but a lot of artists get pigeonholed and they get stuck in what they do, and they keep rehashing different versions of themselves. And so what I've done, especially after my fourth album, it was called Lucid Intervals, I started hearing some riffs on that record that I played in my first album, No Boundaries. And I said, this got to change. And from that point on, I made a very serious decision musically and artistically to make sure each record that I do, all the songs have different things, but it's still me, but it's a different kind of playing.
Okay. All right. I love that. I love that answer. And actually, I think we're starting to mind meld here, Michael, because that's actually something I was going to specifically ask you about this latest release. And again, everybody, we are here with the legendary Angelo Batio, and he's got his brand new album, More Machine Than Man, coming out June 12th. Via Rat Pak Records. So yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you, with this album, had you made the conscientious effort to try to, well, not necessarily try, but to make it sound, with, a forethought, make it sound different than anything else you've ever done. And you did. So I dig it. That's very, very cool. And I like some of the slower stuff that you threw in there too. But your style is amazing. One thing I have to ask you, I'm very curious about this. Are you ambidextrous?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a left-handed person in a right-handed world. So, if you pick up a butter knife in a fancy restaurant, it's tilted right-handed. Even a lot of scissors. I have a bunch of things handed down to me from my grandmother and great-grandmother because I'm kind of the last. Unfortunately, my younger sister passed away. I have no parents anymore. So I got all the family heirlooms got on me, but I have about 20 pairs of scissors made in Germany. These things, they're going to last a millennia. And they're not lefty and righty, but more modern scissors are made for right-handed people. And lefties like me, I was like, ah! And so I started playing guitar right-handed, but I'm left-handed. I throw a baseball and a football left-handed. I play hockey right-handed. And then I play piano right-handed because that's all you can do. And then but I had a propensity to play lefty. When I was a little boy, I naturally wanted to play Paul McCartney style, lefty, but there were no left-handed guitars. So I'm a true ambidextrous person, for sure. I do a lot of things. I grab a lot of things with my right hand. I'm very right-handed, and as well as left-handed.
That's so cool. And I was hoping that was going to be your answer, because my grandmother was that way, kind of to your point. Like, she was a true lefty, but the world was, it conditioned her to be right-handed. She was forced to write everything right-handed,
Right.
So you just fall into that. And my youngest son, he's actually the same way. So that's wild. And, the thing that made me think of that was just, the fact that you basically created the whole idea of the double guitar and the quad guitar, which... It almost looks like more of a gimmick, and I don't mean that in a bad way, because it seems so far out that anyone could possibly play an instrument like that, and here you are, doing that. What made you even think of creating an instrument like both of those, the double guitar and the quad guitar?
Well, again, I'm going to defer to my music history background. When you look in the past, you see similarities, and you can, who are some of the most famous musicians of the era? Beethoven. He had over 5,000 people come to his funeral. He was really famous, but he had a wild look. He had this massive head of hair. He was like a hair metal guy. He had now, of course, he was deaf later in life, but his brilliance, but his image was like, I am Beethoven. He had this wild head of hair, and he had charisma unlike most of the people of his day. Another one, Paganini, one of the greatest violinists that's ever walked this earth, was really pasty. He had a very strange stage presence, but because he was not only a great musician, he had charisma, quote unquote, he was able to be one of the highest paid musicians of his day. So I keep seeing this over and over. I mean, would Elvis Presley have been as big if he didn't look as cool as he did? I mean, even pictures today, that dude was cool looking. And I got to see him in concert when I was a kid. The Beatles, image. Frank Sinatra, they called him Old Blue Eyes. And I don't know a lot about him, but you see the same patterns throughout history. So what I said to myself, did Jimmy Page need a violin bow? Did he really need to hold his guitar, down by his ankles? Did he need to wear the wizard suit from Hogwarts, teacher of the dark arts? No. But did Robert Plant need that bushy head of hair and a bush, he's a sex symbol. I mean, do they need that? The answer is no. But when you have the music and some kind of thing that makes you different, that's the recipe for success. It doesn't mean you're going to make it, but it means you have a shot. My double guitar, I actually got the idea when I was a boy. I studied jazz. I just did an acoustic clinic online where I played a ukulele. I played some jazz things. And so I watched a concert with a guy named Rahsaan Roland Kirk. And he was I was like 11 years old, and he was already this old black dude playing jazz, and he played two saxophones at the same time. And I went, I can do that on guitar. So and I'm lefty, and I always knew I could play. So that was the beginning of the double. But I'm a good artist too. It runs in my family. I have artwork in my house from my great grandfather. He was a lifetime member of the Art Institute. So I have all these family relics in my home because like I said, I'm kind of the last descendant on my line. So it all came to me, and I got it all displayed. But I love my family, but anyway, my first drawings of the double guitar were two guitars up, kind of biblical, and then saw an Eddie Van Halen concert, his second tour, when he did Cathedral, and he put his guitar, he had a guitar stand, lifted it up like this, and I watched Eddie play, and he was always arcing his guitar, and I traced a full-size image of him in one of the rock magazines on tracing paper, flipped it over, there was my double. I have a thing called a protractor, measures angles, looked at the angles, here's 90 degrees, was about 115, 120. So I said, now I've got a real double guitar because I can play it this way and this way. So there was a lot of thought behind this. But I actually got it made in Chicago. And we did it I said, okay, 115, 120 degrees. We did it very unscientifically. We took these two small Explorer-type guitars and just chopped them. We just sawed them. And then I put it together. But yeah, I invented it, but I wanted to do something different. Just like Hendrix would smash and burn guitars, Peter Townsend did this. All these rock greats that I love had something on stage that made them them. Slash with his top hat. The dude has an Abe Lincoln top hat. I mean, so if you're gonna be a tribute band playing Slash, you better wear Honest Abe, and you better have a Les Paul down to your ankles. And so he's got an image that, or Zach Wilde, he's got, I am a Viking. He looks like he comes out of How to Train Your Dragon. The dude is like, he does. It's like,
He does.
Kill the dragon. Kill the dragon.
He wears it well. Yeah.
I love Zach Wilde, but he's got that for a ferocious image. But that's what the double was for. And you are right about a gimmick. Tommy Lee flipping around on a kit, it's a gimmick. But Slipknot wearing makeup, or wearing masks, wearing makeup. So call it what you want, but I really do it. Just like I have the utmost respect for Kiss. Can you imagine wearing makeup like that 40 years? Gene Simmons blowing fire, shooting fire like that for thousands of concerts. What if the wind was blowing the wrong way? Oh, Freddy Krueger, so, but I really do it. That's the key. I really play it, and I do a lot with it. And that's the difference. And the quad was the answer to Steve Vai's 3-neck guitar. Our record company at the time was through Warner Brothers. They wanted me to challenge Steve Vai duel when he came up with his heart guitar. And I like Steve Vai personally. I love his music. I wouldn't do it. But they said, okay, well, you have 2. He has 3. This is our record company. He goes, what can you do? I said, 4. They go, 4. And this is serious. But I lived in LA. I had the best guitar builders in the world. Wayne Charvel Guitars was my friend. He built everything for me. And so I told him, I said, Wayne, we got to come up with a 4-neck. And I drew out the designs. I have an engineering mind. I said, Wayne, think of it like this. And he's like, yeah. And he did it. That was it.
That's awesome. So you literally designed the quad guitar in competition with Steve Vai.
Yeah, because our record company wanted to challenge him to a duel. I refused. I said, music is not the Olympics, and I genuinely like and respect Steve Vai. I like him personally. I won't say we're best friends, but we're on a first name basis. And back then I said, he even said, like when he plays left-handed, he strums a chord. He's a really musical guy. I can truly play left-handed because I am. And I said, what does it prove that I can play better left-handed than he can? It's not a challenge of artistry. It doesn't make him less of an artist or me more of an artist. It's not a good challenge. It's not like Crossroads. I didn't think it. And I'm not like that. I didn't want to do that, but, the label said 2, Steve's got 3. What can you do? 4. And I made it as a joke. They didn't think it was funny. They said, can you do it? And I said, yeah. And I designed it and engineered it. And Charvel, the man, Wayne Charvel Guitars, built it for me. And he built it through Gibson. It was actually a Gibson 4-neck guitar.
Okay.
Yeah, it was wild. Yeah, and it got stolen. And I had 7 strings on the top. I was one of the first rock guitarists ever to use 7 strings, even before Ibanez came out with one. And so it's pretty crazy. But I had people like Wayne Charvel that could do this. Anything I could imagine, as long as it made engineering sense, he could make it, and he made it cool. It was I got spoiled when you have the best in the world that can do anything you can think of. It was pretty, and he would never even ask me what pickups I wanted. He just do whatever he wanted. He put whatever trims he wanted. That was his thing. Just shut up and let him build. I design, he builds, and that's it. I never questioned him. I would ask sometimes, well, what kind of pickups are in here, Wayne? You'll like them. You'll like them. That's it.
That is such an awesome story. I love it. That's amazing. That is amazing. And I wouldn't expect anything less. Everybody, again, we're here with Michael Angelo Batio, and, we're going to be talking a little bit more about his brand new album, More Machine Than Man, coming out June 12th via Rat Pak. But, oh my God, it's funny. You were talking about some of these other bands, that, really had their own way of identifying themselves, like you mentioned, Guns N' Roses and Slash with his hat and, stuff like that.
Yes.
You as an artist, and now you obviously you had your time with Nitro and you played with Holland, and you had a great solo career. Had you ever thought about what it might have been like to be part of like a band like a Van Halen or Kiss, like you brought up Kiss, to be a guitarist in a band with that massive, legendary, iconic status? Was that ever anything you wanted to do?
I can tell you something that happened to me, and this would have been a life-changing decision. When people look back on their lives, the one thing you want to do is hopefully have as few regrets as you can. If I had my life to do all over again, I would have done this that I didn't do. The year was 1987. I was an up-and-coming young LA guitar player. I'll just say it right out, I was a cool-looking dude back then. I was a handsome guy, and I had the right look at the right age at the right time, and I could play my over-under. People, I was selling out all the LA clubs, and I did what's called a Starlix instructional video, and I even notated my own booklet because they didn't have. I'm capable, and it looked so nice because back then they didn't have computers that could actually use tab. They had somebody transcribe the booklet. I was capable of doing it myself, and I did it. This video was outselling everybody. And I'm a humble person. I don't have this weird ego or, I think I'm all this. But the company Starlix was owned by the founder of the International House of Pancakes, and he bought Starlix for his son. Okay, so he had, we used to, it was like Blake Carrington. The guy would walk in, his name was Al Lappin. He would come in his Rolls Royce. The guy was really like distinguished elderly man, nicely coiffed hair, the $100,000 gold with diamond bezel Rolex. He had it down. And they did a market study of me. And you know what? They said, Michael, you can be the greatest rock guitar player since Jimi Hendrix. They actually did a study, and they offered me a contract. And listen to this contract. They guaranteed me an apartment. They guaranteed me a car. They guaranteed me a salary, and they liked the band I was in at the time, the Michelangelo band. It was right before Nitro. Okay. I had a 21-year-old singer, 24-year-old drummer, young. We were cool look. We were everything you were supposed to be. The right age, the right look, the right music. They loved my music, and they offered this to me. And they said, and they guaranteed a major label contract of no less than $125,000 for the first album. And they would write Capitol Records, Warner Brothers, RCA. It was in the contract. I love my dad dearly. My dad begged me not to do it. They tried to get me for over a year. My dad said, son, if you don't ever listen to anything. My dad hated the music industry, and I love my dad. I realized it was my decision. But for the first time in my life, I was truly mad at my dad. And because he basically begged me not to do this. And they were after me. I could have had the best of the best right then. Before Nitro, I would have been, when you ask about a big band, I would have been the big band. I would have been. And I didn't do it because of my father. And my father said something to me that blew my mind. I said, Dad, when finally a year down the road, and now I'm in Nitro and we're getting signed anyway. And I said, Dad, I wish I would have taken that offer. And he goes, well, you didn't have to listen to me. And I was like, oh, man. I was like, but you want to know something? He was correct. And so when I look back, like when you say for big bands, because here's what's happened to me since then. Ozzy Osbourne, back in the day, around the Nitro days, had his management call and want me to audition. But he said, we don't want the over-under. We don't want the double guitar. And I said, well, if you don't want that, why do you want Angelo Batio? And I was getting ready to be signed to Warner Brothers with Nitro. So I said, I'm already going to be in this big band. Gene Simmons loved our band. He thought he loved the name Nitro. He would have signed us to Simmons Records, his label, through RCA. But, so I had opportunities. But when I went solo, I completely rethought the way I wanted to have a career. And I don't regret it. Because a lot of times I found when you're in the big bands, it's not as glamorous as you think. You go on these tours, you act like a rock star. But here's how I think about it. You got this pie. This is the money. Your management takes 20%. Your agent off the gross, which is about 40% of your net. Then you have the agents. Then you have the tour managers. Then it starts whittle down. So this big pie, you're getting a slice like, they didn't eat like big enough. I want more of that pizza. And so, I said, I thought, because I've seen this just recently, so I went on a different trajectory. Okay. I completely changed my career. And because my dad had a great saying too. He said, son, it doesn't matter if you're the most famous person or the wealthiest, be happy. And I made a really good decision. From no boundaries on, I've toured 58 countries, and I'm so busy. If I can start touring again, I will. The rest of this year's filled, completely filled till Christmas. And so I'm just grateful. But that's a great question with you, because that you asked, because yes, what would have, should have, could have. I even auditioned with Kiss when I was really, and I was so awestruck. I was like, if I'm not worthy. And I realized after that, the main reason they got Vinnie Vincent at that time, I was Lick It Up. But I looked like I was from Chicago. I looked like I probably should be selling Geico insurance. I was like, I looked kind of, my face looked good, but my image looked more like a Midwestern kid going to college, which is what it was. And when I moved to LA, it went from Mike Batio to Michael, using my middle name, Michael Angelo Batio, rock star. LA changed me to a rock star. But when I met Kiss, I maintained a friendship with Gene Simmons. I actually showed him how to play over the neck. Watch some of the early Kiss videos with when his makeup's off. Watch him playing over the neck. I showed him how to do that.
That's awesome. That is so cool. All right. Oh man. So the influence you had on Simmons, that's cool. Because I was just going to ask you, in terms of so many musicians, not just guitarists, obviously Gene's a bass player, the people that you've influenced. One thing I saw that was really, really touching, really, really cool, maybe going back a couple of months now, I saw that you put together a video, a tribute to one of my favorites, Dimebag Darrell, from Pantera. You had a really cool story before you played that song. You were talking about how you went, to basically one of their shows. There was like nobody there. I guess I'm assuming this was like in Pantera's very, very early days.
It was when Cowboys from Hell just got released.
Okay.
So this was literally 1990, and nobody knew who they were. My guitar tech, his name is Dragon. He's like, dude, you got to check out this band, bro. And he literally, we put in the cassette, wind it up, and I hear, and I make a joke, but it's like the power of rock. I was like, whoa. And we heard this. I'm like, dude, that's bad. And that's when he said they're playing in Orlando. There was a club called Plus 3. It was right outside of Orlando. Nitro was recording our second album. And so we had this big, beautiful house we rented. The label negotiated. They didn't want us in LA because we were hanging out with Steven Adler, the former, drummer of Guns N' Roses, and CeCe DeVille. We were like getting caught up in the whole LA scene, and they wanted a good record, so they moved us to Florida. And it was a crazy situation, but a beautiful studio. But anyway, we go to this club. And we had a big white cargo van, and so we had chairs put in it. So we brought the band, the road crew, and we knew the bartenders. They were all these really hot girls that worked, and there was and not that we're hitting on them or chatting them up, but we knew them, and but they were cute, and so we go in. They were
cute, yeah.
Yeah, in total, it was 1990, so still that 80s big hair. And
they became your groupies.
Well, they were bartenders, so, they were there to flirt and make money. But we liked them. We actually did a show there as pre-production, so that's how we got to meet them. So anyway, we go there. There's no cars in the parking lot. We go in, and this band takes the stage, and this dude comes out in these long shorts, and like when you're facing the audience, stage left, okay, audience right, Dime goes up. He's got this weird beard, and I'm listening, and I'm hearing this guy play. And I walked up. I was about 10 feet from the stage. Nobody was there. I was the only guy. I'm like, and he actually, after the song stopped, Dime goes like this. He goes, "Is that Michelangelo?" I'm like, yeah, dude. He goes, I got your instructional video, bro. He goes, you're like my guitar teacher, dude. I'm like, awesome. And then this is literally what happened. And then Dime goes, dude, Pantera's going to dedicate a set to Michelangelo. So they dedicated the night of music to me. And over the years, I got to know him and Vinny, very well. And I'm really sad about Vinny too, but I've hung out with him. Vinny actually talked to me. He brought it up about when Dime got shot. I would never ask him. And we were in Germany. But Vinny said, he goes, man, when that guy was pointing the gun, and he goes, his set saved him because things were ricocheting off hardware. He said that's the only thing that saved him, because it was it was almost like in Pulp Fiction.
Right.
Bullets missed the guy, right?
Oh
and so, but it was it's no laughing matter. But Vinny said that, things were, they were pinging off. It was luck. It happened to hit pieces of his set, chrome parts that the bullets bounced off, because he said the guy was pointing the gun right at him. He was, and Dime had already been shot. It was terrible, but I never asked me about it. But I did a tribute to Dime because we ended up being friends. We were both with Washburn Guitars at the time. We used to do in-stores together, and I'm not a big drinker. He could. One shot of Jaeger, I'm out. He could drink 20.
Black tooth grin, man. Black tooth grin. You know?
But get your pillow and all. But I really liked him. He was a true rock star. The guy was a great player. He had that sound, and he actually helped me define my sound, because his sound, everybody tried to copy it. They scooped the mids, super lows, super highs. And my sound's the exact opposite. Mine's, even though I'm happy, mine is the sad face EQ, low bass, low treble, a lot of mids, so gets a really round tone. And he helped me again. It's kind of like knowing who you are as an artist. Dime knew who he was. What a writer. You're talking to me. I mean, those riffs are just insane. I mean, Cowboys from Hell, it's insanity. How cool that riff is, and the groove. I love the guy. And awesome. He was supposed to play on one of my albums. I did a tribute album called Hands Without Shadows, and his next tour stop was Chicago. We had a Van Halen track because he was a big Van Halen fan. Ain't Talking About Love. He was going to come into the studio the day of the show and track the song, and he got shot the show before. I never got to see him, but so it was that album. But I wanted to do a tribute to him, and I think I had to do it in my style. Nobody, I say this, nobody can play Dime better than Dime can play Dime. And so I'm not there to try to copy him. I'm paying homage and respect.
Sure.
That's how I.
Sure. Yeah. Oh man. Well, I know you've got to get going here soon, but I'll just touch on a couple more things, because it is kind of promotional in nature, to more man than machine. Newest album by Angelo Batio coming out, June 12th via Rat Pak Records. So, Mace, your label that you have, and then I know that, the whole educational series, and then, the tour that you have going on, Speed Kills. What's the status of those? What's going on with all that? How's that going?
We're supposed to be on tour this month, and we are starting the tour the very end of July. It's either the 30th or 31st in Milwaukee, and it's not going to be as many shows, but my agent has told me that every show that I have on the itinerary now is confirmed. So I'm going to be out August, September, October in the United States. And then November 10th to the 18th of December, I'm going to be in Europe touring. Italy's the first one. So we don't know with this COVID-19. We really, it's an unknown for everybody. Yeah. We are hoping that we go out. And so I asked my agent, do you think this is going to be, we're going to pull this off? He said, yes. Is it going to be like, there might be 3 days off in between shows, which wouldn't be normal on a normal tour, but this isn't a normal time. Right. So we made the conscious decision to whatever is booked, we're going to just do it. It's not about making money. It's just, let's get the normal going as much as we can. So we don't know. I wish I could answer the question, but that's why we decided to release the record. We said, why wait? Let's just go for it. You cannot stop rock, metal, and the shred. You know, let's do it. And I'm really proud of the new album. I mean, with Chris Adler, we had Victor Wooten do a guest bass solo. He's a 5-time Grammy Award winner. Awesome. Adler is my favorite metal drummer. It's really hard to beat his style. And if you notice on the record, it's such a signature sound. He gets that sound to his drums, and the way he plays and his fill vocabulary and his grooves, it's really inspiring to play. And plus the guy, he's just cool. You know, he's really smart. You know, I really enjoy working with him, and I like him personally.
Well, I know you got to get going. Oh, I wish I could talk to you longer, man. Oh, but Michael, what an honor and a privilege. What an honor and a privilege. Like you were kind of impersonating earlier. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. You know, I truly mean it. Everybody, Angelo Batio, brand new album, More Man Than Machine, June 12th. Oh my God. I've heard it. It's incredible. It's going to blow your mind, as always. Michael, thank you so much. And please be safe. And I hope you get that tour. And I hope we all get to see some dates. Hopefully everything, kicks off and everything's cool, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my website's handswithoutshadows.com.
Right on.
That's Chinese gave me in. But the tour dates are up there so far, and they are confirmed. Now, again, it's an unknown, but we are expecting to go on tour here in the United States and in Europe. We're expecting that. So I'm hoping for the best.
All right.
Shredmaster,
fastest guitarist alive! Everybody, I'm Scotty J, and you're watching Rock Titan. We're out.